Oh my gosh, this is so fun. We just get to like
Fun to hang
play.
out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love not feeling any sort of pressure as to having to like get to a certain place or having to stay on a specific topic. And kind of the feeling of being a beginner again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, let me tell you the feel of being a beginner again.
Yeah.
I was riding this motorcycle home last night.
Oh yeah.
It's like I've never been on the road before. It's kind of ridiculous.
Did you ever get a motorcycle license?
Yeah, I got one a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was this whole adventure because I like bought the insurance for it yesterday.
Yeah.
But it didn't kick in until midnight, so I didn't really want to ride it till I had the insurance in place.
Yeah.
So I sat with the bike outside. I mean, like I had my car, but I just sat with it until midnight.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to take the highway, so I just rode it like through neighborhoods all the way home.
Uh-huh.
So I went from Canoga Park to Las Feliz, like no highways, which took an hour and a half. And
oh my goodness.
It was crazy.
That sounds so wild.
It was really fun for sure. But it was like, wow, it's needs some practice.
Yeah, please be careful.
Yeah,
I know
I
like
promise.
way too many like people with motorcycles who've gotten in accidents, so please be careful.
You're scared. This one does not go that fast.
Yeah.
Like, it does not go over 60 even.
Okay, good. I'm glad. This will be fun. Alrighty. Well, Hunter, welcome to the Soul Whispers podcast. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, I can introduce myself. I'm Hunter. I hope that's obvious. I try to figure out how to describe what I do or what I work with, and I feel like it just takes on so many forms that like there's no solid idea.
Yeah. It's like, who are you in this moment? You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I ask myself constantly. In this moment, I'm working with farms and in the food and kind of like hospitality space, but more closer to my heart, I play music and share music and just love to be around people who generate, really.
Yeah. I mean, as a generator, it makes sense. You are always so humble with yourself and your music talents.
So.
Oh, 100%. As someone who has heard you play now multiple times, it is just like, it truly is what I've said to others, which is like, it's a portal to another world. It is so dreamy the way that you are so intuitive with the guitar as your main medium. It truly is like watching somebody in flow. It's a spiritual experience that allows you to feel the like gratitude of being human and having ears. You know? Totally.
It feels that way playing too. Like playing guitar has always kind of been past just making music or playing music or sharing it or whatever. It's also like a tool of processing for myself. Not even always in like a very conscious way. Sometimes, I mean, not even sometimes, just all day. Whenever there's an open space of time or there's something on my mind I need to figure out or something's bothering me, I'll like pick it up and not really even realize that I'm playing it in a sense. It's just kind of, it's the same tool as pacing around the house. Right. Instead it's this.
Yes.
Instead of walking, you know? Yeah. So it's really special to me. Far past just the music part of it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing that really draws me into the way that you play is how, goes back to that word of being intuitive, because you had mentioned how you didn't learn how to play the like normal, typical way.
That's very true.
And, you know, coming into the new year 2025 and exploring this new format of discussion of bringing people on, friends, on to talk about their journeys, it's like, it truly is this trust in your authentic self and going about the world in a different way, whether it's like relationships or career, and for you, music. it feels like something that's so, yeah, you go to a guitar teacher or you look up like how to play the guitar and like
Right.
they show you how to strum and all this stuff. So can you walk me through how did you go about finding your way in the guitar?
Very bad for a very long time. It's kind of the main part of it. There's not a part of my life where I don't remember having the guitar. It's really just always been there for me to utilize. And past that, though, it was just kind of the same thing. Like I said, as effective as pacing around the house is, that was there for me. So if I was working something out, even as a kid, I would play this guitar and be very bad at it or not really know what I'm doing. But as with practice, you just kind of figure out things over time. And for me, that totally was not figuring out music theory or what certain chords were or scales. I still don't know scales.
That's so interesting.
It's not at all.
Yeah.
Music speak does not really translate to me at all. But I figured out what I liked, and I figured out how to mimic certain songs that I liked. And just spending time replicating that and then taking bits and pieces of that and then kind of making my own thing with it, or realizing that I can just play these certain notes for hours and I like the way it sounds, and then change it up a little bit. And now suddenly I'm making a song and rinse and repeat for ever.
Wow. That's really amazing. Because then, like, there's obviously other people. He has like Charlie who went to school for music, right? And then here you are, just like their sound and what feels good,
Right.
what sounds good, and like really just coming up with that yourself. So that's amazing. I just love that journey.
Appreciate that.
Okay, so overall, how was your 2024?
Overall, it was very good. As a whole, it was one of the best years I've ever had, for sure. Maybe the best, honestly. Maybe seconded by the year I moved here.
Wow.
It's a pretty big year. First half of it, immaculate, amazing. Got to have so many new experiences and got to experience like friendship and love and just the world as a whole in ways that not only I didn't think I could, but in ways that I didn't realize existed. So now to kind of hold that with me and realize how much is available and how like abundant it is too, which I feel like abundance sometimes sounds really cliche, but then you experience so much of it and you're like, oh, there's a reason. Right? There's a reason abundance is a word.
Yeah. Tell me how you perceive it, like especially, and like also those insights that you had to love.
Yeah, just how, I mean, for all the above, love, fan, friendships, and just the world as a whole, how deeply things can be felt, how deeply you can fall into relationships, whether they be romantic or not, how deeply you can tie certain things into your life. Yeah, really just a dive deeper into the realization that you can root so heavily, I guess you could say, and the willingness to root, the willingness to commit, which I feel like is a problem for not just myself, but so many people.
Same.
Yeah, right. It's maybe human nature. And then the latter half of the year, not so much, a lot of letting go, a lot of figuring things out again, trying to figure out where I stand with myself and the future.
Yeah.
Which is still in the works.
Yeah, I mean, you're going through a lot of changes, a lot of transitions. You had so many, like, I don't know if they're like epiphanies, but like,
it's a good word for it.
Yeah, like things shouldn't just clicking and you being like, I know where these next steps are taking me, or like where they're going. And it's so interesting, this duality that we see with commitment and then letting go,
Yeah.
right? It's like, how is it that when you commit to a path, like you know what you want and you go after what you want and you get what you want, again, whether that's in like a career, relationship, or health, like there's a certain point in time in which now there's letting go and surrendering. It's like you never thought, like when you started something, that you're gonna let it go.
Totally.
Right. So I'm curious for you what that journey looked like.
Yeah, it's in addition to that, it's interesting because I've also realized that new commitments won't present themselves to me. Not even like I won't accept them, but they just won't show up in my life until I've let go of these past things.
Oh, that's such a good one.
It's been cool. So I'm kind of in a space of letting go right now, and I feel like I have been able to let certain things go back into their realm.
Yeah. I feel that, and like the opposite of it, where it's like, I was seeing somebody this year for like, I don't know, maybe like a month or so, and it was pretty like just casual, like just going with the flow of things, almost like intentionally unintentional. And as I was getting to know this person, I was kind of like, okay, like considering maybe do I want to date them, right? Like, is this something that I want to go down? But at the time, I was in a place where I was like, had decided like I just don't want to date.
Right.
Like, I've been in an astrological transit of find happiness within. You're blocked from relationships, essentially. And the second that I started opening myself up to the idea of potentially dating, then I was like, okay, well, who else is out there, right? Not just this person. And the second I start looking outside, and I'm like no longer in this thing, they're like, oh, I don't think we can continue this. I realize I'm still like in love with my ex, essentially. I was like, oh, interesting. Like the second I was considering maybe going down a more committed path, but then I opened myself up to, okay, well, maybe I don't want to commit just to this. Now I have to go down this other process. It's like, bye. Take that off the table. And I'm like, oh my gosh. This happened like a couple times now. Where I'm just like, I truly am being blocked from, relationships at this point. It's like the second I think about commitment and I'm like considering, they're just like, nah, never mind. I'm like, what?
It's moments like that where the first time you'll just kind of let it be a thing, right? And the second time, like, all right, fine, I get it.
There's a pattern.
I get the message.
There's a pattern. Yeah. Okay, so you're like in that process of like letting go.
Yeah, 100%. I'm doing it pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll give myself credit.
Yes, give yourself those flowers.
Was not initially, but
yeah.
In this current moment, especially the past few weeks, have been very copacetic.
Yeah. You're on the up and up. So coming into 2025, tell me where can I give you a reading in?
Ooh, I'm having a lot of questions with, I want to give a few things, and then maybe you can help me pick one.
Okay, yes.
I'm having a lot of questions with location. Don't really know where I want to be right now. And I don't think that's I don't think that it is that I want to stay in California. But then, like I said, some amazing things have also presented themselves to me recently, which is kind of how it goes. When you try to leave a place, it'll just kind of call you back in.
Yeah. It's like testing how serious are you about it.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Can we just like breadcrumb you a little bit? Right? Location is a big one. I guess the only other major one right now is also music related, maybe professional more so. Because I've always known music was going to be a profession. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get paid for it. I'm going to make an amazing community out of it. It's going to be the center of my life, no matter what. That being said, I like to dive into as many things as possible. Like, I feel like there's nothing that I'm not really interested in.
Okay.
Like, if I have this opportunity to do a bowling ball business, like, yeah, full send.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's
You're just open to it.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I love this because, as you know, I'm like restructuring my business, right? I just kind of finished, and now it's like getting it out. And I used to do like 12-week packages when I first started, and then like it was like 6 months, and I've gone through like the life coaching, and spirituality, and all this stuff. And what I've settled on now that feels really good is just to do single sessions of energy audits, where we really are like looking at a foundational level. What is the energetic undercurrent of what's going on? Where are you at? Where is your soul trying to guide you? And how can you align yourself with that as a foundational piece?
Right.
And then looking into what's potentially blocking you. What's, what beliefs you might have, who is maybe in your life who's blocking you, where there might be energetic leaks or drainages, and how to plug those up, right? How to release any blocks that you have, what might be influencing you consciously, subconsciously. And it's a lot of like sometimes it's, I know what I want to do, I know how to do it, but I'm just not doing it. Right. It's like, I know I should like go to the gym, but I'm doom scrolling, right? Or I know I should go to sleep, but I'm stressed out, I'm thinking about all this stuff, and I know I shouldn't be thinking about all this stuff. So we can use tarot to really look at those things. One of the reasons why I love that tool is like, it's so blunt in a lot of ways and very clear in it. And we can also look at the mindset piece with like coaching and see, okay, pragmatically, we see the truth through spirituality. Now, practically, how do you apply that? Right. How do you live your truth? So we'll be able to go through that and just see like starting point wise, what to even focus on. Because a lot of people will come with kind of what you're saying of everything in my life, I need clarity, or like there's all this, there's all these like moving parts. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna narrow down and just see like what comes up as that one foundational piece. And it kind of comes down to, at any point in time, you only can ever have one priority. It's like, we love to say like we have multiple priorities, but truly, if you really look at it, you only have one priority at one given point in time. And it could be different in the morning versus the afternoon. It could be different in the beginning of the year versus mid-year, but you're only operating for that one place. Just like how you can only be operating for one truth, right? You can have two opposing truths of like, you love this person and you also need to let them go, right? And so we'll get clear on how to move forward from just where you're at and see how that goes. So do you have a specific starting point that you want to go off of? Or do you want to see what happens?
I think I'd actually like to see what happens.
Okay.
And build from there.
Let's do it. I'm going to start with tarot. Oh. Got lots of choices. So we have the 7 of Cups. Oh, there's 2. We're going to take that.
I'll take it. It's the Capricorn card.
Yes, it is. My like one Cap friend. I have another girl Cap friend actually. You two are weirdly similar in the sense of like, you don't feel like a Cap to me at all because both of you are so like sweet and loving and like good natured, but at the same time, like you can see where when structure and discipline is needed, you're there, right? You can like see that grounding. Okay. So
I like that description. The good parts.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I think it's really is like how life has shaped you and how that's getting expressed. Okay. So we have where you're currently at being the 7 of Cups. So really looking into emotionally being pulled in different directions. There being a lot of different opportunities, a lot of different pathways you can choose from, and it's, you don't know what's going to be good, you don't know what's going to be bad. There's a lot of like what it looks like, and there's a lot of how you feel about it right now, but at the end of the day, like you're not going to know for certain. And so there are decisions that need to be made, and under the surface we have the Devil card. So the devil is part of the major arcana, which holds this lesson spiritually for your soul's development to let go of attachment to the material world. It has Adam and Eve depicted. So that's who like these two are, right? And they are chained to each other. They have like their fruits and whatever. And there's obviously this devil in the background, but their facial expressions are very like chill.
Right.
It's kind of this feeling of like you don't realize that you're trapped, and it's actually trapped, and you're just like, oh yeah, it's fine, right? And so with these two coming, it's like making your choices very intentionally, disillusion yourself, right, from potentially the material world. But also I think because this is coming from a shadow side, if there's any fears of being materialistic, if there's any fears of attachment, that's something to look for. Because the thing with the material world and like wanting things isn't that like wanting things is bad, or like wanting more material success or things is bad, wanting a relationship is bad. It's none of that. It's really looking at why behind it. Is it truly like from a place of what you're feeling that you want? Like, is it coming from a place of love? Is it coming from a place of integrity? Is it coming from a place of desire that feels like you? Or is it someone else's? Is it out of fear? Is it somehow misaligned in that?
I was just telling someone a couple days ago that it's not really material things, but I was just telling someone that I've never wanted so many things right now, like in years. Want is a huge thing in my life right now. And I think they're good things. I don't think they're very things that I could be disillusioned about.
Yeah. What's your relationship with desire?
If I really want something, I'm going to get it. I think I'm very good at really knowing if something is right for me. And if I am very sure of that and want it, then really nothing stops me from getting that in some way or another. And past that, I really don't have... My vices come from relationships, really. Like relationships and love and the way I want to be treated by people, even like non-romantic relationships. But materialistically or things like that, not so much. I have a pretty... I can detach pretty well. Even things like addictions or anything. I really don't have addictions.
Yeah. Amazing.
Thankfully.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I was just thinking about that the other day. Like, I feel very grateful to not have a quote addictive personality. But it's good to know that like you have this intentional check-in with yourself, and you're coming into this season of your life where it's like, okay, you're very clear in like all these things that you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I typically only take what comes face up. So we have the Emperor, and then we also have the Hierophant. So we have number 4 and number 5. Oh my gosh, my couch is eating it.
The Emperor decided not.
The Emperor was like, I'm hiding. I don't want to come out, which is really funny. Okay. So you tell me how comfortable you are talking about this, right? Because this is going to come into masculinity and father energy. Because you have the devil, which Capricorn, aka father sign of all zodiacs, and then we have the Emperor, which is also, again, very father energy. It's actually, this is Aries energy, but the Emperor is all about structure, discipline, creating, knowing that like you are the Emperor of a city, like it's your job to provide. You have a whole town to feed, you have contracts to sign, an army to train. So it's like there's no time to fuck around, you know? And the shadow side of Aries is this like temper tantrum, tyrant type of behavior of an Emperor. And then you have the other side, which is like the weakling who like won't step up into leadership. He's like afraid to assert power, afraid to like make decisions. And so the Emperor, there's also this element of like temperance for you, where there's an influence that's coming in of it's time to get into this like leadership energy, right? Get into that fire, get into making decisions, potentially needing to be cutthroat about something, and also needing to test out like, you know, what does compassionate leadership look like that doesn't look like being walked all over, right? There's this like getting stable and allowing the things that you want to manifest in, and then we have the Hierophant coming up in this influence on the shadow side, and we have like very similar imagery here. I mean, in general, we have like, even with the devil, there's like always this like center stage figure who's looking right at you
very
and who's
throne
leading.
heavy.
Yeah, right? We have the devil who's in control of these two humans. We have the emperor who's in control of a whole empire. And then we have the Hierophant, which is like a priest, is like in control of the whole spiritual like community. Right? And with the Hierophant, it's looking towards spiritual guidance or stepping up into spiritual leadership, right? And I think because you have such like strong leadership energy coming through in your things, and like this core being currently in your day-to-day life making choices, we're really wanting to look at what are the foundations, and these are all being major arcana cards, okay? Like, what are the foundations of you making decisions? Like, truly, what are the paradigms that you're operating in? How are you deciding what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong? Who are you leading, and like what is the vision that you're building?
Yeah, I mean, my operators for making decisions really are, does it make me feel good? Does it make other people feel good? And is it hurting anybody? Right? And if the answers are yes, yes, no, that's a good decision. You know what I mean? That's kind of like the basis on how I operate. Just like, I hope things feel good for me and feel good for you, and aren't hurting us now, aren't hurting us in the long run, aren't uncomfortable later for things that we didn't think about in the moment.
You're very intentional.
Yeah, very intentional, 100%. To an overthinking extent, for sure, which is a trait that I really like about myself. I'm happy that I think hard about whether or not you're going to be upset about something, right? Or if I'm going to be upset about a decision I've made. And it's interesting, also these cards together, because I was telling you earlier that my phrase for the year is apply pressure, which does feel like a very masculine phrase. It definitely feels like a year of more masculine energy for me as well, which you also said. Yeah, my relationship with masculinity has been very interesting. I haven't had, at this point in my life, I've had a lot of very good role models. Growing up, not so much. Don't blame anyone for it. But definitely was surrounded by a lot of positive feminine energy. So that's always carried on a lot through my life. I mean, even now, I feel like I exude way more. Other than this appearance, I feel like this appearance gives off very, very
and
masculine
now with the
energy.
motorcycle.
Yeah, right? Exactly. I feel like presentingly is very masculine, and maybe leadership-wise, I'm very willing to take on leadership or
Capricorn.
Yeah, exactly. I'm willing to be the face or whatever that entails. But internally, in the way I operate and the way that I like to communicate, has always been very feminine energy. So
very intuitive, very in flow, very honest, and just like, attuned to others. So I feel like this, so then that being said, right, this might be that attuning into yourself, right, and really fighting for what you believe
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way that I could read it for myself is just being more comfortable in my own masculine energy. Not to say I'm uncomfortable with it right now, but I guess just take it forward. I'm in a position right now where I get to make a lot of really big decisions that affect other people, particularly in a professional way, which is something that I'm excited to take on, and I think I will do a very good job at. But I'm very conscious of what that entails.
Yeah. I mean, this just looks like it's going to be the theme of literally like making decisions, tap into your emotions for it, but then like you have all of the influences for leadership. You have like almost like the devil on your shoulder and then the angel on your shoulder with like the Hierophant and the devil. Like it's so like heaven and earth, right? Or like heaven and what is it, hell? Like it literally came out. And then the emperor being that earth, that middle ground, right? Like that middle earth energy. Like this is just so fun to like see. And this being said, like I'm curious for you, like when you think about where you want to live, right? Because this is one of the things that you want to get clarity on. Where do you feel that leadership energy within you wanting to push you to?
I really don't have a clear answer for that. It's just somewhere else is kind of my answer. And again, not because I don't like it here anymore and not that I want to run away, but
you have places that you were thinking of.
I do, yeah. Washington has always been a huge one. I've really wanted to try that. But I've also been very open to just like fleeing the country, basically. And I get in very manic is a crazy way to say it, but I get in these spaces where I'm just like, let's make big crazy decisions, and whatever the outcome is the outcome, and whatever, you know, and also not in a self-destructive way. I don't mean that. But that's kind of the space I'm in right now, where I'm super, super, super open to making big changes and taking on new roles and even just being somewhere else physically. I'm so down to change everything right now.
Yeah.
Which
what
is a fun space.
This brings up like why this comes up so heavy of because you're ready to change, you decide.
Right.
This goes into freedom of choice. And freedom really coming through choice, not through options. Right? You are exercising your freedom when you actually make a choice. And just like I always use the example of if you had all the money in the world, right? Because people are like, well, if I had the money, right? Or if I just knew the right people. If you had all the money in the world, you would still have to decide. And you had a private jet, you could go anywhere in the world. You still have to decide where you're going to go, right? You can't just be like, there's all these countries that I want to go to. It's like, choose one, you know, start somewhere. At some point, it's the distance between you and getting to where you want to be is simply the courage and the quickness of how you can make a choice, right? The faster you make the choice, knowing that there is no right, there is no wrong, there's no good, there's no bad, there's just what you want and what you're feeling. Hence why maybe this is coming up. It's like it's safe to kind of lean into maybe what you're feeling, of your curiosities and what you're desiring, and what feels good to you, like you said. Is just that's going to be the thing that propels you forward, right? That's going to be how you know. So, and you're also going to Vietnam. Yeah,
that's definitely I guess the starting point of it all, you know? Just wanting to begin exploring.
Yeah. And you'll learn a lot. Okay, we have the earth snake. Gratitude leads to abundance. I love this for you because we are coming into the year of the snake, starting the end of January.
Which year are we living right now? Is it the year of the dragon?
Yes.
Yes. Dragon and snake.
I think so. I want to say yes. I feel like a bad Asian now. Yes. No. Dragon. Yes. So dragon into the snake, exactly. So coming from like the air into the earth, like literally grounding down, but still in this like slithery energy. There's no feet. Getting close to the ground, right? Feeling everything there, shedding, transformation, letting go. And it's a 9-year for the collective, 2025, right? So 2 + 0 + 2 + 5, 9. All about ending old cycles, wrapping things up into a bow. And I think there's this understanding that you don't have to necessarily know exactly where you're going to go, but you have to know what you're letting go of and where you don't want to be anymore. So it's closing up those loose ends, closing those soul contracts, etc., to create that space, and then really letting that leadership come through and find you. So we have gratitude leads to abundance in number 6, which is all about like that peace energy. It's like very loving, safe, comfortable energy that comes after change, after chaos. And like honestly, this just like just feeds more into that earth being the material world energy, right? I think like with this deck in particular, because it's inspired by the Chinese 5 elements, I'm gonna go into it a little bit more because I haven't had every single one memorized. Okay, let's see what this has to say for you. Gratitude leads to abundance. Yin Earth is the heavenly frequency. Yin Earth in the heavenly frequency brings blessings from Mother Earth. She will provide you with the resources needed to manifest your dreams. Tune into her frequency of peace and gratitude. The more you give back to her land, the more abundance she will give you in return for your generosity. You already work so much with the earth and like plants and herbs and literally with farmers. So this is just like, I love this for you. It's kind of like you've given so much, now it's like you can receive. The snake is an interesting yin fire sign with hidden yang qualities of metal, fire, and earth. She appears feminine and nurturing on the surface, and it's only when you get to know her that you'll also discover a determined and bright character who can also be very persistent. This card tells you to search deeper. You may be surprised to find buried treasures hidden underneath the surface. The earth snake pillar brings messages of love and joy. Engage in activities that make your heart sing to spark the joy within. You have an infinite capacity to love. Be bold with your love and sincere with your heart.
Okay, I'll take that one. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So there's 2 messages, one from heaven, one from earth. Message from heaven. Yin Earth reminds us to consider our actions with sustainability in mind. Nurture Mother Earth as you would yourself and your loved ones. We are all part of her. Message from Earth. The snake's yin fire carries the frequency of joy, which you can cultivate by bringing in more of what uplifts you. Where in nature do you feel happiest? A simple awareness practice is to note the dominating colors in your wardrobe and your surroundings. What colors and objects uplift your mood? Coming here wearing all black. Yeah. How does that feel?
I'm thinking about what colors and objects uplift my mood. Could you guess my favorite color?
Green. No.
Yeah, I feel like that was too easy. Oh yeah, definitely green. 100%. My room, so narcissistic. My room was painted Hunter green.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I've been coming into my green era. I like got this couch because it was like I'm gonna, because I was such a like a creams and neutrals, and I was like, oh my God.
Give me a good. I mean, this green in particular with like a nice orange together. Favorite color combo.
So when I create a little podcast studio upstairs, I'm wanting to do terracotta as a backdrop.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then grab like a fiddle fig leaf.
Yeah.
So you get that green and you know.
Immaculate.
You know. Thanks.
Yeah, green is definitely present.
Yeah.
Green has been like an age 10 and up thing. And then blue was my childhood.
That is such a like a boy. Yeah. No, I can see that for sure.
Yeah, I still love blue, of course. So probably those 2 colors really uplift. In terms of objects, material, a guitar. I feel like that's such a given. Yeah. It's just so my life. It's less material and more so food. Like I just love to indulge in a good meal or in good food.
Let me ask you this. Because I think you're someone who can be very content just where you are, right? Which is a beautiful place to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying like it's been a while since you've really wanted a lot of things. If you were to stretch yourself to a point of like almost discomfort
Mm-hmm.
as to something that you want that would be material
Mm-hmm.
in this physical world, right? In some capacity, what would that be?
It would be, and I do want to comment on, I'm almost never content with where I'm at.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Almost never.
Yeah.
I'm in a constant state of wanting change.
Yeah.
But in terms of something material, right now it's been the motorcycle. Like I've really kind of worked an insane amount these past few months and played music and built things and kept up relationships and did all that on top of it. I'm no stranger to working a lot of hours and being stretched thin, but it's been very intense the past few months, like on top of processing with certain things too. That's kind of been it. And that one was realized yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, it came to fruition.
Yeah.
So now in this moment, the material object, I guess it would be, I really would love to have, this is way in the future too, I would so love to have a home, which is such a funny, our generation thing to say, because it's way more out of reach.
Yeah.
You know? But I haven't really seen myself being in a steady place for any amount of time. And always in a state of moving, a state of changing. I could change where I live every single year, it feels like. I would just love to have one place where I feel I'm going to be there long enough that I can paint the walls, you know, or be willing to put up all the art or change the floor or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you.
Just have a home that I can really pour everything into and let it reflect myself more than just a collection of things that I've, you know, bought to hold books or something that I found on the curb in Hollywood. You know?
Yes. Okay. So, that's going to require a lot of change, right? That's going to require a stretching of the nervous system, ability to create resources in new ways where your effectiveness is like going to come from not trading time, right? Which you already know from that aspect. Okay, I love that as a place because there's like allowing yourself to dream, allowing yourself to come to this like abundance. And you mentioned how you feel like you're never content. You want to dive deeper into that?
Yeah, only in terms of my own life. When it comes to friendships and romantic relationships, I can just love people so much and not expect anything more as long as like we both feel good, you know? I live in a very hedonistic standpoint for sure. But in terms of my own life, it's always, and something I'm sure you can relate to, just being an entrepreneur is I can be doing more. I could go and record that video right now. I can go and finish that song right now. I should be trying to get booked by these venues. I should go to that party that I'm way too tired to go talk to a couple people, and then that feels inauthentic, so maybe I shouldn't go, but it would be good for my career. All that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
It's all that kind of thing. A lot of professional stuff, a lot of personal, I could have chose to grow in this way, but I just was kind of lazy or didn't do it or wasn't willing to face discomfort this time, which I think has leeway to it. But I mean, you know the breaking point with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's mostly in that sense.
Yeah. Okay. So there's an element of trust in that. You are, because it's like there's an infinite amount of things to do, and then contentment just ends up being a choice, right? Because, and I've been thinking about that for myself of like, what would be considered like you finished your work for today, you know? Because you obviously have like a mission, and you also have like these intentions, right? Where it's a lifelong thing,
right?
Even after you're gone, there's going to be more that you can do. So, just like how people at a regular job would have these are your daily goals, right? Or this is what you need to get done this week or this month, or this is this project. Like, when do you consider that done? Is so subjective, and we don't have that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like, how could you be content if you don't have the structure for content? Right? It's like every feeling, if every feeling is a feminine, then there needs to be a masculine structure to hold that feeling. So what is that masculine structure that's going to allow for contentment to flow?
Right. Yeah, that is a very good question. And definitely something I struggle with a lot is pretty much not even allowing myself to feel like I finished a project. Because I can just add so much more to it all the time. What works good for me when I'm in a healthier place is, I guess there's two things. One is just writing things on the checklist. And if I've done the thing, I can put the check. And even times where I'm like really depressed and I can't, operate. And then you write brush teeth in this checklist, and then you check the box and you're like, okay, I'm doing stuff. Yes. Right. So sometimes just from the smallest points, that really helps me. Yeah. So maybe having like a structured list of sorts. Or also the other big one for me that helps me be productive and feel like I've done something is talking to someone else about the things that I'm doing. And I'm sure you can feel that too, where we can do so much and be so much in our own flow and so much in our own zone. But until we've like realized it and spoken it to somebody else, you don't really realize how much you did.
Yes. Oh no, 100%.
Yeah. So it helps a lot. Phone calls are very helpful for me.
Yes. Just like that reflection point is really good. And like there's all of these little strategies of like making a done list instead of a to-do list of like writing what you've done for the day and stuff. But I think like tools are there to help work for you. If a tool doesn't work, then it's not your fault, it's the tool, right? It's not resonating right now. So you already have like these like little indicators popping up of feeling dissatisfied. Okay, that's an indicator. Not that you're doing anything wrong or you're not doing enough, but it's actually an indicator of you're not feeling content and you need to feel contentment in order to move forward, to feel good where you are. So kind of like, how can we solve for content? Right. Not how can we solve for doing more? Right. And that requires that discernment of what is actually the real problem. Yeah. Instead of going into fixing mode. Yeah, that's well said. I'm glad. Okay. So we have a little bridge card here now. I'm kind of seeing that flow of like, okay, where we're trying to go. Because right now there's a lot of this building up the leadership, right? Really getting comfortable in making decisions, quick decisions that feel good and that are like in integrity with you. Right. And then we have kind of where this is all leading you to, which is this abundance and this joy. Like joy came up multiple times in that reading. So, and even when you're thinking about the material things of having a house potentially, right? It's this joy that you're going to receive from being able to be this expression of you. And the material world financially, right? In the relationships that you have, the health that you have, all those things allow you to be your highest expressed self. It allows you to be your most authentic self, right? Through money, through good health, through the people in your life, you're able to experience what it is to truly be the loving, kind, courageous, like brave, just person
Right.
with so much knowledge and wisdom and appreciation for beauty, right? Those are all virtues in which your soul essence is made of. So the wood rabbit comes as a calling card to follow your curiosity. And it's such like a pretty little it's like all the spring flowers.
Yeah, it's a cute rabbit.
Yeah. What does this come up from? What does this bring up for you when you see it?
I love that color.
Yeah.
Good color.
Uplifts.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Very true. Very true. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely like pinky reds.
Yeah.
That'll definitely feel good.
Oh my god.
Warm colors.
Mhm.
Is pink a warm color?
I think so.
Right, because it's like part of red.
Yeah. Red, white. Yeah.
We'll say so.
Wow.
In terms of the wood rabbit, follow your curiosity. I feel like that's kind of just true to itself, almost. Yeah, I mean, just follow your curiosity in general is, I feel like, just a way that I also operate on. I'm very, very willing to just find out.
Yes.
You know?
Fuck around, find out.
Yeah, 100%. And consequence never really, I'm very conscious of it, and when it affects me, I'm way more willing to just like find out, you know. Affects other people, not really, it's kind of off the table, but
Yeah.
I don't mind maybe getting some negative consequence if it means that I got to appease my curiosity.
Yeah. That's awesome. You know what I was thinking was actually we should look at your human design.
Yeah.
Wait, then you're not a tiger actually. You're an ox. Because you were right before the new year. Because the new year, the lunar cycle doesn't start until the end of January or early February.
Oh.
So you're actually an ox.
I'll take an ox. Right.
Strong,
Looking
stable.
an ox and a Capricorn goat.
Yeah.
Together, I'll take it.
We do go well together. Oh my gosh, you have so many defined pieces. That's insane. Just so, in case anybody watches it, they can see how ridiculously defined your chart is. You have like no space. This makes so much sense.
Tell me I'm overloaded.
You have little places where you're influenced by others.
Yeah, definitely feel that.
It's like throat is like the only place where it's undefined, but it's not even like an open center. An open center is like when you have nothing, like no gates colored in either, but you still have a gate there. So, wow. You are very much so meant to be you and be this like life-giving energy for all of these things: inspiration, ideas, love and direction, your motivation, emotions, pressure, desires, instinct. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so you're an emotional authority. So we love that combined with like the 7 of Cups energy, where you really are meant to make decisions based off of how it feels to you. That's how your intuition speaks to you. It's not going to be through that sacral gut check. It's going to be through overall, how do you feel about this? You know, how do you feel about this person? How do you feel about this place? Do you already know all this stuff about your human design? Okay, amazing. So that's going to be the way to lead, is this way that is in tune with your emotions. And you're going to want that space between needing to make a decision, or like a decision being presented to you and then making it. But your strategy is to respond to it. So it's for you is going to be a yes or no. It's going to be a clear like, do I want to, do I not want to? Right? Because if you don't follow that, you're going to be frustrated, which is your not self theme. And then if you do follow it properly, then you're going to feel really satisfied in your life. So that contentment piece is actually so crucial to you as a generator, where you are built to be satisfied about your life. So when you are not content, it is a indicator of, are you saying yes to things that you are actually wanting to say no to? So if you were to force yourself to go to that networking event, right, that would be out of alignment. So you don't actually want to.
Absolutely. I will agree.
Right. Versus going and finding a new venue to play at and actually asking them, right? Like, oh, do you know anywhere else I could be? You know, who this would vibe with, right? Might feel more natural and like achieves the same result, but in a way that actually honors your system. You are a 5-1, so the 5 line is known as the heretic, and then the 1 line is known as the investigator. So I'm a 1-3, so I share that with you. But the first number being the 5, that's your conscious driver, and then the second number is your subconscious driver.
Subconscious is a heretic.
Yeah, subconsciously, the way that you operate and the way that you run, the way that you're driven is to be very different, right? Is to go against the norm, go against this, go against social conditioning, looking at things differently. So that's why your NOMER here is the challenge solver. Because when there's a problem that needs to be solved, you're going to look at things differently, which allows you to actually solve it. Because chances are, if someone has a problem and they can't get anywhere, it's because they're still thinking about it the same way. You're the type to be like, let's look at it upside down and flip it over.
Yeah, that's for sure. That is for sure.
Put it, you know, in this box and see it from this other lens, right? Like, so it really is like this out of box thinking, and the internal subconscious driver is the 1 line, this investigator. Needing to like going into deep rabbit holes, really wanting to understand why, how does something work, like really like seeking all this knowledge.
Yeah.
And then both of them together allow you to have a clear way forward that is like new but still informed. Right?
That's the one you share with me?
What do you mean?
Was that the one?
Yeah, that's the 1 line.
That's the one we share, right?
Yes,
okay,
yes.
Yeah.
So mine is, that's the conscious part of me, of like, that's part of like, I think the reason why I value education so much is like, I'm just like, and why I've always secretly loved school, even though it was not cool to like school, and I would always be like, I hate school. No, subconsciously, what do you mean?
I am not a school person.
You're not, right, okay, like, I just love learning.
I dropped out of school. Did you know that?
I did not know that about you.
Yeah, I got my GED.
Whoa. No, I mean, I fucking graduated high school with a 4.2 GPA, with like all these honors, and then went to USC and graduated magna cum laude.
Yeah, that's amazing. That, in my eyes, that's insane. I couldn't imagine.
And then I have my certification for life coaching, for hypnotherapy, did like all these courses. Like, I'm constantly like, give me more knowledge.
See, I took such a, I mean, like you said, I took such a weird path where I dropped out of high school, got my GED, got the highest score in the state, so they gave me a scholarship for college. And then I went to a year of college, or like maybe a semester even, and I was like, oh yeah, I hate school. Like, why am I doing this?
Definitely not for everyone.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people, especially creatives, like especially music producers and like people in the music industry, like school is not the place for you, you know? And it's like, it's such a different way of thinking, which actually adds into this of like your knowledge and like the knowledge that you seek and the knowledge that you have, and you know, that investigator in you is even like different, right? Because to go down this path of like deep education, but it's like, or deep knowledge seeking, but it's being so much more intuitive. And like music, it's, you know, again, you learned how to play guitar completely differently than everyone else, but you have such a deep knowledge and like wisdom about it. So it's like, it's so interesting to see it kind of retrospectively, how this does like fit into just who you are and how you do things. Okay, so this all being said, the most important gift that you have, we have the drive to provide for yourself, gate number 54. Let's go, Capricorn energy. You also, all of your arrows face right. So everything's intuitive for you. That's what works best for you. Yeah.
For sure.
You benefit from going with the flow, surrendering, zooming out, and more passively observing what's in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
So literally, like the way that you nourish your body, your environment, that's going to help you be most clear and aligned, your perspective, and as well as what motivates you. All of those things are going to come to you intuitively.
Mm-hmm.
So it works out for you to not have set goals, set structures, set places to be. It makes sense why you might want to like change your environment, you know? Maybe if you need to like change like what you're eating and stuff, and like intuitively taking on different perspectives based off of like where you're at, what you need. It just makes sense. So now I wanted to see where your environment was. Mountains. Where are mountains environment? Places where you can get perspective, whatever you feel like is conducive for you to get clarity and information.
Yeah, that definitely feels pretty open.
Yeah.
I'd like to be in places where I see someone else's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
I think particularly or maybe specifically in people.
Mm-hmm.
Even things I like entirely don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just so badly want to know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like so badly understand why you believe this so heavily.
Yeah.
And like maybe hopefully affects my opinion, or at least like have a deeper understanding of whatever it is we're talking about, like why this nuance of it makes you think this way versus me this way, because I didn't get to share this experience that you had whenever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just, I mean, the investigator, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it ties it straight back into it.
100%. It makes sense. So, I mean, as far as where to settle down in, it's going to be partially a hardscape where it's like, yeah, a place that has mountains would be really helpful for you, or like you have easy access to mountains.
Yeah, that feels vital to me. That one I know for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, but there's still a lot of places. Right. And also, if you think about surrounding yourself with the right types of people who also have who have different perspectives, new perspectives, I want you to come away with having a clear idea of what to do next.
Totally. Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, even what we were talking about earlier, what helps make you feel like you've been productive, or that kind of thing. Like having the conversation with someone and speaking out and like getting to hear you dive into that and kind of break that down, and then me getting to reflect my experience back onto you. Yeah, it's totally helpful.
I'm glad. I hope so. Okay, but I'm over here like, we're gonna figure out exactly where you're gonna be living, where you need to move to, how you're gonna get there, when this needs to happen, who you're supposed to be with. Like,
and I don't think it's a bad thing for things to end up open-ended. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it's just like the reaffirmation that it is open-ended.
Yes.
Is better than just the initial feeling that it's open-ended.
Yeah.
I don't know better words to use to say that sentence, but
I hear what you're saying, because a lot of it is like. Like the next step can't be revealed to you until you take that first step. So really, like, you just need that first step, and then to execute on that first step, and then you come back with like, okay, now what, right? But then knowing kind of the high level like path is what allows you to continuously make decisions on that path, right? If you know the path is to lead you to your joy and your abundance, and this is like a whole phase of your life in which you're coming into your leadership, then you take the path, you make decisions from a place of courage and bravery instead of giving into fears. And then if you're seeing doubt, right, then you come back into your emotions and you're like, okay, how do I really feel about something? And then you know where you're being guided towards, which is like, hey, follow your curiosity, which shortens the delta between you making decisions, right? And that's like the whole point. To me, that's like the value of this type of stuff and spirituality and knowing your patterns. Is you spend way less time second guessing yourself, doubting yourself, or trying to control an outcome or feel uncertain, because you don't go into your brain to be like, well, what feels good to you, or what feels good to somebody else, or is this hurting anybody else? It's not necessarily like a logical thing. It goes into like, how does it feel? Right? Which means you don't have to figure it all out. You can make those decisions like now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad that we're getting there. So the left angle across of cycles, this is your life purpose according to human design. Okay, and this is why we had gate 54 being your most important gift of being self-resourced, essentially, right? And I think that's going to come in your pressure center. Yeah, so that's going to be your root center, which is all about pressure, and you have both of the pressure centers defined, so both the root and the crown. So pressure internally, mentally, like the almost in a way false pressure of, you can think of this as like, well, what if I would fail, right? Or like, what would it look like if you didn't achieve what you wanted to, right? Or you have an image of how you want to look or where you want to live, and that's driving you, right? That creates pressure, that creates drive. Same thing with the root here, except the way that I see the root is really more sort of like survival, like the survival instinct to have resources so that you can get through winter time, and also the survival instincts and the pressure to be liked and to be in community, to be valuable, to like provide something of value to others, to be useful. Like that's where I see the difference between those two pressure centers.
Yeah, totally.
But you have both defined, so a lot of pressure all the time. Okay, so for you, this consists of the gate of ambition, beginnings, continuity, and growth. It's kind of similar where you have the conscious and then the subconscious drive. So for you, really, that desire, you said that you're kind of like constantly creating change, right? So that would be seen in this piece, and then the continuity and growth. You create change because there's a craving for growth. Right? That's kind of how those two get played out. I guess like this coming into your reading is a, hey, what cycle do you want to start? Right? What cycle are you completing? What are you going to decide is done now?
Right.
Just like how at some point you were like, I'm no longer going to blame like my past or the people in my past.
Right.
What cycles are you done now?
That's a really good question. You're definitely right in the sense of what if I fail kind of thing. That's always been very heavy on my mind. And I feel like that's it definitely is a self-defeating cycle, right? Where you can just fail or succeed infinitely and then kind of compound that feeling upon itself. I wouldn't know how exactly to define it, but an ending of a cycle of feeding into the fallout of my own failures. I'm kind of feeling, I'm definitely feeling a lot of success right now. And I noticed that a lot more success is present around me when I'm not living in that fear of failure. Letting your confidence like overpower your fear of failure. Like not even necessarily having to let go of it, but just willing to be like,
yeah, that's courage.
Yeah, exactly. There's a word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about this.
Being more courageous. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because courage is not the absence of failure, right? It's the having failure and doing it anyways.
Right. Yeah, so maybe ending of your cycle, starting a more courageous cycle.
Hell yeah! We'd love to see it. We kind of talked about this last time that we met up, where it was a little bit more geared towards your friend, but a lot of this is just deciding that the cycle is done, right?
Yeah, totally.
And then now it's operating from a paradigm, right? It's like the transition period is you've decided the cycle is done, and so now it's looking at all the things that are going to come up that was part of that old cycle and identifying what those things are, so that you can like one by one be like, oh, that's part of the old paradigm, that's part of the old paradigm, that's part of the old paradigm, which is going to allow it in that new paradigm thinking.
Yeah.
I like it.
Do you feel like you can force a cycle to end? Can you decide right now that this cycle is over?
What cycle?
Whichever
like
cycle.
Any type of cycle.
Yeah.
That's a really good question. I'm gonna think it through out loud. The first thought that I had was soul contracts and kind of the cycles of being in a certain relationship. And I think for that, I don't think there is a specific duration of time. I think there is, a premature ending of a cycle, if you were to decide that cycle is done, but you haven't truly learned the lesson, right? It's going to pop up again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a level of integrity that needs to be had and self-awareness of, are you trying to end a cycle because it's uncomfortable and because you want to kind of like get to the next thing? And it's kind of like, oh, can my next lesson be like, can I handle a bunch of money? You know?
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, I'm so tired of being broke. Like, can my next lesson be
Right.
like the good things? Can I handle enough good things? And it's like, yeah, you know, if you actually learned.
Mm-hmm.
But did you actually learn?
Right.
And so I think that's like where we see relationship patterns being the same over and over again, and same thing with money patterns over and over again, is because you can decide, but then if you decide and the new cycle feels almost forced, right? Because it's inauthentic, it's like taking effort because it's not truly who you are yet. It hasn't been embodied. You can try to decide intellectually that it's ended, but whether or not that actually means that a new cycle has begun does not correlate, if that makes sense. Like, I think there can still be that like transition period in which new things need to be garnered. Like if you were to be in a relationship for 4 months versus 4 years, and the same patterns have been present since the beginning, you leaving at 4 months having decided that's done, you're no longer going to accept this type of behavior, right? Or like whatever it is, that's great. And does that mean that now moving forward, you are learning the skills to maintain that for yourself and to grow into another standard and like have the higher levels of self-love, self-trust, and discernment, so that your next relationship starts at a higher standard, right? Versus maybe if you're in it for 4 years, there's this level of cognitive dissonance that had built up so much, and then you've like learned so much that it's just like there's no way in hell that there would be a going back to that type of standard, as well as more insights gained maybe from yourself of what you need in order to get to that next level.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's like my off the cuff what I think.
Yeah, no, I get that. That feels right the way that you explain that.
Yeah. Would you word it differently if the advice is decide to end a cycle? Right? Decide that you're just done with it and act from that place. How would you word it differently?
There's definitely a question that I asked that I had absolutely no answer to.
Yeah.
Which are the best questions? I mean, I would mostly just piggyback off what you said. That like, yeah, you can kind of decide for yourself that it is done, but it's, if you haven't taken away the lesson, it's going to pop back up. That being said, I feel like, and I would have a hard time naming a specific situation, but I feel like there are certain cycles that are just so bad for you that you haven't gotten the lesson from yet. Maybe because you were too stubborn, or just weren't in a space to receive it, or it's just not time right now. I feel like there are cycles where you have to tell yourself, like, regardless of what comes next and what comes out of this and whatever the fallout is, like, this needs to end right now. And I need to decide for myself, like, literally speaking it into existence, that this is done. So then I stopped giving my attention to. Right?
Yeah.
I feel like cycles are, they feed off your attention, right?
Yeah.
The more attention that you pay towards them, the larger they're going to grow.
Yeah, I think this goes into having the awareness of what is the gap between you mentally knowing that you're done with something and deciding you're done with something, and then the emotional readiness to let it go. And I think where cycle ending, how a process can go is knowing deep down in your truth that like this is not where you want to be, and you're
Yeah.
ending this cycle. Let's say like someone's addicted to porn. Like, you can know that this is not good for you. This is not where you want to be. You don't feel your higher self. You have all this like reasonings of why it's, you don't want this. You didn't
Right.
even like try to choose it necessarily, but it's just like you're stuck in this cycle, right? There is the knowing that you want to complete the cycle, and then there's the delta of where you at emotionally, and it kind of is like, it's like bacteria where if you keep eating sugar, your microbiome is going to like crave sugar, right? Like you're gonna have this sugar loving bacteria that like you need to literally starve so that it can calibrate to a new baseline. And so I think that's where there is a understanding. This is why like hypnotherapy and stuff can help, where you go into the root cause of why did this behavior come up? Like, why is there this addiction, right? What is the emotion that's being felt that isn't being felt in normal life through your current like decisions that you're making, right? Why are you not able to derive joy and pleasure from just normal like, existence? And a lot of times there's like the shame that's in the way. There's the sense of like unworthiness. There is the feeling that like what you want is not available to you. This type of connection you can't have because you look a certain way or because blah, 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 right? And when you address those things, then you actually have a pathway in order to close the cycle. Because I think that the important piece is the decision is a starting point. And then there's still the process of ending the cycle. But once you've made the decision, then you can move forward with actually closing it. And so that's where you get to those pieces of, okay, what are the feelings that need to be felt? What are the feelings that need to be, like, go through a process of the discomfort of starving the bacteria, essentially, where you're going against the human survival mechanism of moving towards more pleasure, with less effort, with less pain, and actually having to put in effort. You're going to actually have to, maybe experience some pain and discomfort, and it's not going to be fun. It's going to feel boring.
Right.
It's the whole, like, if you were in a toxic relationship, getting used to, like, a normal safety feels boring, right? But it's a recalibration period. So I think the ending of a cycle is truly that. It's deciding which of the cycles that are ending, and then giving yourself that space to recalibrate to what is new, what is true to you. And then that becoming your new normal, your new baseline, that is how you know that that cycle is completed, because you'll feel it. But I think it does take the mental decision to do so, and then having to not override or like gaslight your own emotions, but it's really like getting clear on like what is the emotional pathway to completing the cycle in order to successfully move forward. I think that's what separates humans from, not like I don't want to say like separates humans from animals. Obviously, I'm fucking vegan. I like love animals. I feel all the compassion to them. But why people talk about like why humans can innovate and like why we've been able to build all these things is because we have that prefrontal cortex that can make decisions.
Right.
And so you have to use that 5% of your brain intentionally if you want to break out of the way that you were.
Yeah, it's thinking back on what you said about the logical deciding I'm done, and versus like the actual emotional actually getting over it. That gap for me is something that I struggle with a lot. I'm good at just deciding like whatever, like sure I'm done. But emotionally, like my brain definitely keeps the score with it. And I have a very hard time getting things out of my head, even if I remove all distractions. And if I break routine and this or that, I will think and think and think and think and think and think. I can keep myself as busy as I possibly can. And it's really only time that solves it. But I wonder if you have any advice or anything that you do to kind of bridge that emotional gap a bit.
Okay, I want to use the example of relationships because I feel like those are the only things really that I've ever, not like that I've ever, but I think those are the things that have typically been the hardest, that like stay in your brain for so long.
Right.
The only other thing I can think of is like when I used to struggle with disordered eating habits, and like I feel like I was obsessed with food all the time, and all I could think about was like what my next meal was, what it was gonna be, how many calories was gonna be in it, like what's okay to eat, what's not okay to eat. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna go out with friends, and like where are we gonna go? I need to look at the menu ahead of time, and like I need to decide ahead of time, and this is all I can have, and this is what I can't have, right? Like it's so much mental and emotional labor, and it really is truly, I feel like, so much of probably the brain of an addict. I've said this so many times before, where something like an addiction to alcohol, I just don't give a shit about alcohol at all. Not a fan of it. Don't like the smell of it. Don't like the taste of it. Don't like the way it makes me feel. Never have. Never will. I hope. You know, but for me, it's never a problem. I don't go to a place thinking like if I was like an alcoholic trying to break it and like recover, I could see it being like thinking about it all the time, being afraid of it, trying to control, right? Use willpower, which is just not effective, right? And there's shame attached. There's like all these emotional attachments to it that make it so that your brain has to think about it. And I think where it kind of comes down to is I believe we're wired to be good people. And in order to be a good person, you need to be in integrity with your morals and your virtues. And so it creates things like shame or guilt or fear or doubt and all these things because we're trying to maintain this image that we are a good person, right? And so I think when it comes to letting go of something in your brain, right, that you've decided that you're done with the cycle, you're done smoking, drinking, you're done beating yourself up, you're done people pleasing, you're done, obsessing over an ex, right, whatever it may be. I think where the delta comes into is similar to how like the difference between me and like an alcoholic recovering is like alcohol is completely neutral to me, and there's no thought and feelings, there's no strong thoughts or feelings about it in my life. It doesn't even pop up, right? It's a non-problem,
right? And
I think that's the thing, is like, how can you make something a non-problem? Because there's a reason in which it's coming up. Just like how the brain might be like, we should make you afraid of alcohol and remind you of who you were when you were with alcohol, in order to try to scare you into not drinking it, come up with all these things. And same thing with like love, right? It'd be like, remember how bad they treated you? Like, it's almost like it's trying to find fuel so that you don't do the thing that you say you don't want to do, which is like text them back maybe, right? But if there's a trust in like you're a good person, with or without them, you're loved, you're lovable with or without them, that with or without you energy allows you to release it with more ease. And it's like literally like each little thing of, there's no need to blame the other person, right? It's not like you're a bad person or I'm a bad person. There's no need for understanding, because it's like, it's not personal, nothing's personal, right? And I'm gonna be okay, like objectively, it's like, I am okay. So therefore it's like giving your brain that safety of, you can let go. And it also doesn't mean anything to let go. I think a lot of times with grief too, it's, what does it mean if you were to let go, right? It's and the reason why people keep thinking about like someone who cheated on them and like everything in the past, it's like, it's almost like a proof. It's evidence that someone loved you. And it's evidence that like, you were loved at one point, or it's evidence why you can't trust love and you can't trust other people. It's all an effort to allow you to feel safe, and like to protect ourselves and protect our organism is such human like survival 101, that it makes sense that it's trying to find every single reason to try to protect you and try to keep you safe and try to keep you alive. But when you give yourself that surety and like truly like feel it of, oh, I don't need this to hold on. I know I'm loved. I know it's cool that they love me, but I also love me, and someone else is gonna love me, right? And you truly can feel that belief. Then it easily is like, then it's a non-problem. It becomes a non-problem.
Totally, yeah. Like it's such a secure thing. It's such a secure attachment at the end.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I love me, so I can just continue to choose to love me. Yeah, I'm like I so much so desire like a over the top, fiery, like all in connection, you know? That God, I just can't imagine being that healthy with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely like a mindset thing. And this actually goes into I had a whole other conversation with somebody about completing the cycle of anxious attachment, right? And again, I said the same thing of like, it starts with a decision that you were not an anxious person, right? It's like the same thing with people who are diagnosed with anxiety. It's like, you're not an anxious person, you experience anxiety, right? Don't take on this like image and this like personality trait, like this is who you are. You can't. No, that's just not true. So the same thing with like an attachment style. It's like, I was not securely attached growing up. I was disorganized as hell, you know, probably leaned more anxious, but definitely had some avoidance tendencies. Like, especially as an adult, I've almost had to like check in with myself as like, am I swinging avoidant or am I like more secure? Is it just secure, you know? And I think it came with this decision too of having to know what you're working towards and knowing that like the brain doesn't do well with don't do this thing, right? If you say like, don't forget, you're gonna forget. Every single time I've worked with somebody and I ask them, what do you want? They start with what they don't want because they're coming to me depressed or anxious or uncertain, and they're like, I don't want to be depressed.
Yeah.
I don't want to be anxious. I don't want to be afraid. I don't want to hurt somebody. I don't want to feel hurt. I'm like, great. You're telling me all the things you don't want. What do you actually want? And they're like, it's like the brain cannot compute because they haven't even thought of what could the alternative look like. It's so like, this is your reality and this is what perpetuates the reality, and like you want to get out of the reality so bad, but you're stuck in the reality because it's the only story that you have available. So that's where opening the perspective of what could reality look like. That's where learning about like, what does a secure attached person look like? As in, what are their actual behaviors?
Right.
What are their beliefs? What are their truths? How do they feel? How would they react in this situation, right? What would they say? What would somebody doing this what would they make that mean? That somebody did this or said this? And then when you actually let your brain go there and you talk to people or you do your research, then your brain actually has something to use, right? So now the story and the narrative is not, I'm an anxiously attached person and I'm working on it. It's, I used to be anxiously attached and I'm moving towards being a securely attached person.
Right.
And when you keep saying that, I'm moving towards secure attachment, I'm moving towards secure attachment, I'm moving towards secure attachment, you're in this process. And you could even say like, I'm becoming a securely attached person, right? Or I'm securely attached and sometimes I experience avoidant tendencies, right? And it's kind of a ladder of beliefs. It's like a buffet of belief choices that you can decide based off of what feels true to you in the moment,
right?
And what is beneficial. But the point is that they're all beneficial because you can decide like today you're done with being an anxiously attached person and then decide I am a securely attached person. And I just, I frequently experience anxious behaviors, right? Because right now it's kind of like you have like one secure behavior to, not saying you personally, right? But you, like somebody could have like one securely attached behavior trait and then like 30 none, right? But you can just resonate more with this one, decide this is actually the true version of you. Just like how if you were to keep shitting on yourself all the time, but then you have one good trait, you can be like, yeah, that is the truth of me, right? And everything else is illusion. Then that ends up becoming your anchor instead of the 30, which is going to be so much heavier and harder to like pull yourself out of.
Right.
But now when you identify with this one, it becomes easier to be like, oh, now the work is release, and build, right? Versus pulling away from something. That's going to be so much harder.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put that, actually. I feel like I could sit and think of that for a while and figure a few things out.
Yeah.
I definitely, I don't know if I stand from a point of building on anchors too often. Like, even, I mean, just in so many ways. In a very, I guess that kind of comes with like an intuitive mindset, but there's just hardly ever any anchor points, I guess. There's like a set of somewhat broad rules, and that's kind of it. So yeah, that's I appreciate that it's helpful to think about.
I'm glad. Yay! Look at us getting perspectives out. Okay, I'm gonna close this portal.
You're a child of the universe. What an honor it is to be a part of something so divine.
I kind of love this dual meaning in this card, where it's like you are part of the universe, and to experience you is divine. Like it's you were a blessing to be around. Yeah,
that is very sweet.
Yeah, and the universe is divine in itself, and it's a blessing to be part of the universe, right? But it's very much so like it's within you.
Very true.
Yeah.
Oh, very sweet. I love myself for it.
Yes, I love that. Okay, well, that closes this portal, and to close the conversation, one of my best friends gave me this deck. It's called Scene, and she found it in Vietnam. And I was playing with Melissa, and it was so fun because it's a card game that is really built for people that you already have existing friendships with to go deeper in.
Oh, cool! I like that.
Yeah, I felt like it could be fun to pull a card.
That's pull from top.
No, actually, I guess that's a really good question.
No.
Yeah, please. What is it?
It's so intense. If this was to be our last conversation, how would you want me to remember us?
Yeah, no, this is a deep, deep deck.
Wow.
Yeah. If this was our last conversation, how would I want you to remember us? I think it would be two souls that cross paths as a remembering of like our true selves, or true potential, or true purpose, and a support of like really it was like a glimmer in each other's lives to see that like it's okay to be on your own path. It's great that you're on your own path. There's other people who are also on their own paths, and we can make it.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
like I think support was like the first word that came to mind, but I think it's like it goes further than just like a friend being like a support. It's also like it's both having been walking on our own individual paths and figuring it out, and having this like certainty when nothing is actually certain that this is the path that you like, this is the right path for you, and we're gonna be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's very sweet. I like that a lot. I appreciate that. Talking to you is so fun because you also operate from a very intuitive kind of way, and sometimes it feels like I can talk to you, or rather I can just listen to what you have to say. It doesn't even have to be like us decoding something, but I can just listen to what you have to say, and that kind of helps me understand a little bit of my own operation a little bit better, which is fun.
I love that.
I don't know if I have an addition to. Can we pull another one?
Sure.
2 cards?
Sure.
How about you pull this one?
Okay, this is gonna mess up Melissa's and I's game because we were just pulling from the top. Okay, what is one thing you want me to do more for our relationship?
One thing I want you to do more for our relationship. I want you to share more things that you feel good about that you've done, but unprompted. I'd be very happy if even you just texted me and you were like, I did this thing, it was so sick, let me tell you about it.
Oh, wow.
That would be cool. I feel like you need to share more things because you do a lot of like big accomplishment things. I mean, especially you just did this whole Joshua Tree retreat. And I want to hear more about that. And I want you to be able to speak it, without a prompt.
That's so sweet. Okay, I will keep that in mind. I think like that's so heartwarming, and there's just been like a very, very acute theme that has popped up the last few days, even multiple times, of recognizing that like I have friends who care about me.
Yeah.
Which sounds so silly almost in a way to say, because like I like love my friends so deeply. I care a lot about them and like their well-being, and like I see them all in their highest light. And I sometimes like forget to go out of my own perspective and think like they feel the same about me. Like, oh, like my friends at some point have worried about me, and like they want me to win, and that they want to hear from me, or like they want to hear my celebrations, they want to hear my challenges. Like I think there was definitely such a long period of my time where I felt like I was such a burden, and like everything from whether it was something I wanted and not having it, and like as a child, right, it's like a financial burden or something, right, to being an adult or even a teenager and like having big feelings, and feeling like it was a burden to share, and that like it's the whole, oh well, I just dumped on you, and so like tell me what's going on with you. It's like a tit for tat, but like you both want to hold space, but and I think the celebration thing is such a big one, like just bringing more awareness of the good, and like letting people see that. I don't know, like it's interesting. It's like
very important. Like you have a light, and you should feel comfortable in sharing that.
I appreciate it.
Of course, LA is also a very hard city to feel more naturally comfortable in that. I feel like because you meet so many. At least this has been my experience. I've met all of my closest friends here under professional circumstances. So you're also trying to figure out if you've crossed that line yet between like, are we good friends or are we like work friends and friends?
Yes.
Or are we?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Oh my God. Tea House people, it's been like such a, like in my mind, I'm just like, I don't know if I should keep inviting you to gatherings. I just don't hear from you. But I thought when we met, we were so close. I don't know.
Right.
And it's again not personal, but it's just like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad you want to hear more from me.
I do.
As a projector, wait for the invitation, right? So I feel like I've learned to hermit more and like really wait to see like who actually cares to have me in their life, because I think I operated like a manifestor for so long. Like, here's all these things and I want to do these things, and I like, so it's just good to hear.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Speak it. Some of my favorite conversations, I think 3 friends. I have a few friends where we call each other just because person on the other line doesn't even say a word. It's like, I need to call you just because I need to speak these things right now. Or I need to like celebrate this thing, or I need to somehow decode this thing in my brain. And I just need to speak particularly to you because I know that for whatever reason I solve this when your presence is there. But yeah, I'm very down for that kind of energy.
That also makes so much sense for you knowing your human design now, because you have so many defined centers, like, and the one center that you have open or like undefined is your throat, which is all about communication. And so it makes sense that for you, that being open, it's like, what is the best way to say it? I don't know like how exactly to say it. I don't know how to speak it and stuff. And so it like you need that. That's like the one place where it's like everything else feels so certain and you know it, but like how can you communicate it? And so needing other people to give you that soundboard, like it makes sense from a human design
That's so
level.
true.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's awesome. I appreciate this. I think if I were to have something for you, like that was along similar lines of like the first thing that I thought about, which is I really do believe that people serve their relationships best when they serve themselves. And I just want you to like love you more, you know, like to the greatest depths, as courageously as possible. Love yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's definitely been strong on my mind for sure, and like ways to do that feel right to me, that feel authentic to myself. Yeah, we'll do. We'll do.
And then let me know how it goes. You know, or let me know when it's hard and like, you know, I don't know, it's something that's hard to accept about yourself, or something's hard to release, or you know, whatever it may be. So,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah, sure.
Oh my gosh. I feel so good.